the CHL News, here is Alex Furco.
I'm not going to keep this hat on for long because it won't fit my headphones. My arms are already getting tired.
Merrick Robinson.
She answered the question. She said no, so then I went, okay.
And Phil Tremblay.
Nebraska could disappear off the face of the earth, and it would not affect me any.
Grab a seat because the show starts right now.
Half of the Stanley Cup Final has been decided. The other half is being potentially decided as we record the show. The couch is not as full as it typically is. Both Merrick and Phil cannot join me, but I do have from the Armchair athletes, Clayton Yates. Clayton, how's it going, buddy?
Good. How are you, Alex? I'm
Not
very
bad at all.
excited to be on the show. So
I completely forgotten that Merrick and Phil couldn't join, so earlier today I started texting around, seeing who could join. Luckily, you weren't up to anything.
yeah,
Also, even luckier, we have some Vegas news to touch on because they are your team, yeah?
yep,
The Armchair Athletes is a podcast you listen to on Spotify. Just Spotify, yeah?
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, yep,
And they cover NFL, MLB, NHL,
NBA as
NBA,
well, yeah,
the big four.
yep.
Yeah, but today it's a little bit of change of pace, just straight out of hockey for you. Let's jump right in. Let's get into the Rangers and the Panthers. That series closed out last night with the Panthers punching their ticket to their second straight Stanley Cup Final, electing not to touch the Prince of Wales trophy in doing so. I want to start somewhere not from the game. I want to start with something that I've kind of heard in passing since. Do the Rangers have another Henrik Lundqvist situation on their hands where they have a goalie, an amazing goalie, and they just can't seem to figure it out?
Yeah, and I think you've really started to see what those core pieces on the New York Rangers are made of these last couple playoff runs, Alex, because they went deep in 2022 and they had Tampa almost on the ropes. They were up 2-0 in that series against the Lightning. They won both games at home, and then when they went to Tampa, they fell apart, and towards the end of that series, Zibanejad and Panarin struggled. Then you have last year against the Devils where they go deep, or they have that 2-0 lead once again, and then the Devils kind of come back and make it 3-2. The Rangers force Game 7, and then Panarin and Zibanejad vanish again. And now this year, Panarin and Zibanejad were great through the first two rounds for the Rangers, a huge reason why they got there. Kreider as well. But those three players, I think you expect more out of those guys if you're the New York Rangers in that series against the Florida Panthers.
Panarin doing all he can. He made it a close game last night.
Yeah.
Making it a 1-goal difference in the dying seconds. Unfortunately, the Rangers couldn't find another goal there. Really, really disappointing. Because I don't know about you, but I had the Rangers going to the finals in my bracket. I had them beating Boston, which shows you how much I know. Which shows you how good of a guesser I am. I also had Vegas winning the cup, so my bracket was shattered by the second round. Yeah, I just can't help but see similarities between when Lundqvist was in his prime. You saw him against the Kings. You saw him every year the Rangers made the playoffs and could not quite piece it together. Do you think we're seeing shades of that in Shesterkin here? I know it's early in his career, so you can't really, it's a much smaller sample size at this point. Lundqvist ended up playing 130 games in the playoffs, and Shesterkin's only sitting at 44. But if you're in Rangers management, are you kind of worried that this might be a second coming?
I think you are, and that's why I brought up kind of the core and their performance as well, is because like Igor Shesterkin gave him good goaltending all the way. He almost took him to the Stanley Cup Finals, came within 2 wins of making it there. But you need the goal support too, and I just don't know if those top guys on the Rangers, like Panarin had that goal yesterday, but he was held scoreless in the 5 games prior in that series. I think Zibanejad was held off the score sheet the entire series in goals, and Kreider had only the 1 goal in Game 5, I think it was, the giveaway from Tkachuk. So I think you expect more out of those guys. Adam Fox didn't have his best playoffs as well. I think that he's going to be better in the future, and I'm not sure if maybe he was a bit banged up. He didn't look like himself, I didn't think, in those playoffs. But for Igor Shesterkin, he did all he can for the New York Rangers. And like you said, Alex, it's very early in his career. I think Lundqvist was a bit later into his career when they made those finals against the LA Kings that one year.
Yeah, that would have been the 11-12 season. Yeah, that would have been the 11-12 season. About midway.
Yeah.
He played 3 games in 05-06, 06-07, 7-8, 8-9, missed 9-10, 10-11, 11-12. So about halfway or just under halfway into his full career. By that point, he was looking like he was around kind of that 9-10, kind of high, like 91-7, 92-4, that kind of like high end goaltending. Shesterkin trending around that as well. I don't know if I'm personally worried because I imagine there's a lot of scar tissue in Rangers fans' brains over those few years. Lundqvist, the poster boy for always being a bridesmaid but never their bride.
Yeah.
One of the best goaltenders to have never won a cup, in my opinion. Over the course of his playoffs career in general, only a 2.3 goals against and a 9.21 save percentage, respectable, but sadly didn't pull out a cup in that time. Also multiple silver medals at the Olympics and juniors, stuff like that. What did you think of Matt Rempe's? You know, he comes in against the Islanders, outdoor game, comes in, does a spark plug, story of the league within the first couple weeks of him playing. What did you think of his deployment throughout the season or throughout the postseason?
I was a bit confused with what the New York Rangers were doing. So they have him in the lineup and they're playing him. It was around like 3 minutes a game in some games. And it's like, so they're bringing him in to the lineup to provide some kind of physical presence, but they also are probably reading him the riot act of don't go out there and take a dumb penalty that can put Florida on the power play.
Please don't jump when you hit.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Learn to hit, please don't jump.
Yeah, so they bring Rempe into the lineup, but they're playing him 3 minutes a game. So it's like, I don't know if he was effective enough with the ice time they're giving him. But, like, I think they should have just made a clear decision. Either you play him the normal fourth line minutes or you don't have him in the lineup entirely. It felt like they kind of went halfway on that, having him in the lineup but playing like 3 minutes a game. And ultimately, I think that puts more stress on your top guys who have to now play more and takes a toll on them.
And I understand that it's your fourth line, so you're not imagining a huge amount of like Olympic level chemistry.
Yeah.
But if you keep taking him out, putting him in, that's throwing off your bottom two or three lines due to that kind of constant substitution of I don't know who I'm playing with.
Yeah, for sure.
So looking back at the Rangers postseason real quick before we jump across to the West, they swept the Capitals. Didn't put on much of a fight, honestly. Is anyone surprised that went 4?
No, I thought he'd go 5. I thought maybe Charlie Lindgren would steal a game.
You would think, or Ovechkin would have done more than he did.
Yeah.
Just didn't. The Rangers go on to face the Hurricanes in an admittedly pretty tight series.
I was shocked by that series.
Yeah. I was kind of torn because Anderson was real hot coming in. The Rangers pulling that off in 6, only losing games to 4 and 5 in that time, and then they advanced to the Panthers. And it's a story of 1-goal games throughout the entire series, aside from Game 1 where they lost 3-0. Game 2 is 2-1 in overtime. Game 3 is 5-4 in overtime where they won. Game 4 they lost 3-2. Game 5 they lost 3-2, and then last night they lost 2-1. Detailing the larger issue of scoring. I don't know what to take from the Washington series because they didn't put up much of a fight. The Rangers collected, quick math here, 15 goals over the course of those 4 games. It was a bit more high scoring, obviously, against the Hurricanes, because that also went a couple long games, 1 double overtime there as well. And then their scoring just shut off. Over the course of the 6 games, they scored 5, plus 2 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10. If I was to switch over to their cap friendly here, just a quick second. Are you looking to bring in more Are you looking to bring in more high scoring, or what do you think the issue is there? Do you think the issue is a lack of leadership from Trouba and all the other guys wearing A's? Just maybe the voice in the locker room got lost a bit? Is it that Florida just outskated them into the ice the entire series? What do you think it is?
I kind of think it's a mix of both things. Like, I didn't think Jacob Trouba had that good of a series as well. And like you said, Alex, he's the captain. He's supposed to lead the team by example. And he was leading with his elbow, I guess, most of the series. I was confused how they did not suspend him on that play against
the Rodriguez fine was curious.
Yeah.
I guess that's because Rodriguez stayed in the game. If Trouba caught him full, that man's dead.
Yeah.
That man's not getting up. But it was a glancing blow. I would have given him a game just because, sometimes you got to pay the stupid tax.
Yeah.
And, when you chicken wing your elbow out there, that's the stupid tax for me. Pulling up the Rangers cap friendly here. Not a lot of room they can do here. Capo Caco is an RFA heading into the offseason here. Jack Roslovic, Wenberg, and Blake Wheeler are all UFAs. I imagine Wheeler just rides off into the sunset. He's 37. If he signs, it's probably going to be 1 year, probably close to league min. On the defense, Ryan Lindgren, Braden Schneider, Eric Gustafsson, and Chad Ruedel. Depth guys. Aside from maybe Eric Gustafsson, who has shown he can be a little bit of a kind of offensive presence. He's also a defensive disaster some nights. Do you try and add?
Yeah, like you said, you don't have much room to add.
You don't.
The one thing I'm wondering is, are the New York Rangers banking on another step up from Lafreniere next year? Because he had a great playoff run for the Rangers.
Yeah.
And he took a step this season. I think he's now in that range of like a 60-point player type. But can he take that range to like a 70 or maybe even 80-point guy next year? Because that could help him a bit.
Yeah. That contract could look really good. He's only getting paid $2.325 till the end of next season. He's an RFA going in after that.
I think Caco's a lost cause.
He's 23, so there's still some time for them to maybe work around that. Because obviously, Exhibit A of a bad start for a player, Alexis Lafreniere, didn't start off too hot. Suddenly, he's come into his game. Capo Caco, I just don't see it.
Yeah. I think he could maybe be like a third-line player.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I imagine they're going to re-sign him because he's an RFA and you want to try and work with him just a bit more until he's a UFA, maybe. Lafreniere, especially in the playoffs, really, really came out. When he wasn't scoring on his own net, but especially with where he used to be. Where he used to be, the talk around him was one of the bigger busts recently.
Yeah.
Obviously not Alex Dagler or Rick DiPietro levels of bust, or Nail Yakupov, but still not what you expected. He's now starting to grow into his, ideally his prime. He's 22 now. I would imagine that that's probably where you're banking on.
Yeah.
That you're going to resign those smaller depth guys, like Wenberg, Roslovic, Wheeler, those kind of people. Maybe add a bit more veteran presence if you really want it, and then you're banking on a bigger season from Laf. You open that Zibanejad and Kreider stay on what they have been. Same with Vincent Trocheck. They're locked up for multiple years. The soonest one out of those two that I just mentioned is Kreider's contract's up in 27-28.
Yeah.
So you have your core. You have a really, really good core there with Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, Gaudreau. You're hoping that other guys take a step here. I imagine is probably the next step here for the Rangers. I was a little bit disappointed in Keandre Miller.
Yeah.
He's 24, so maybe his age is a part of it. He's signed till the end of this upcoming season, and then he's an RFA after that one. He just looked pretty inexperienced, which I imagine they're probably going to try and hold on to him.
Yeah.
Because hopefully, as you progress into kind of further playoff runs, hopefully he actually learns and kind of grows and matures a bit more. That's really all I have on Rangers. Do you want to touch on anything else that I maybe forgot?
I was just going to say, I thought Florida was the better team in that series. I thought they were more built for playoff hockey. Like the Florida Panthers, they have a lot of skill on that team, but they have that nastiness to them too that wins in the playoffs. And they're going back to the Stanley Cup Finals. They're the first team since the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2009 who ended up winning the Stanley Cup. And you mentioned that the Panthers didn't touch the Prince of Wales trophy. This is just a fun question, but if they go back to the finals, say they lose this year and they go back to the finals next year, do they touch it?
What do you do? Yeah, because they touched it last season and then they didn't touch it this past time. I honestly think you look at the number of games played in both and you go from there.
Yeah.
Maybe if because against Vegas that ended in 6.
5.
5, yeah, because Vegas was the higher seed.
Yeah.
So that ended in 5. So if this series goes 6 or 7, maybe you don't touch it.
Yeah.
There are a couple players that did touch it when they went onto the ice. I noticed Tkachuk touched it.
Yeah.
So maybe if this goes 6 or 7, maybe make a rule. Yeah, no one touches it. And if they get swept, yeah, I think everyone's going to touch it.
I was going to say as well for the Panthers that I just think that they're a different team, kind of like there's a vibe around the team that's different from last year. Last year they were that Cinderella team, and they had won the President's Trophy the year before.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that they even got past Boston that year, much less made the Stanley Cup Finals. And I think that there was almost I don't want to say that there was they were happy to be there type of thing, but it was almost like the Golden Knights had that previous cup experience going in. The Golden Knights were more battle tested for those finals, and they flattened Florida in 5 games. It wasn't a close.
That last game especially.
Yeah, it was that one or the 5-game series with Tampa and Montreal. Those are the 2 most lopsided cup finals I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then, whereas this year, going in, there's that vibe that they're not just happy to be there this year. They're battle tested now for the finals.
They got something to prove.
Yeah, they're the ones that have the experience going in, and I think it's going to set up a really interesting matchup with whoever comes out of the West between Dallas and Edmonton.
Speaking of whoever comes out of the West, it is a 3-2 series lead for the Oilers in this series. They're currently up 2-0 in the second intermission. The Stars are out shooting the Oilers 21-8.
Big game from Stuart Skinner.
Big game from Stuart Skinner. Bad game coming out of Ottinger.
Yeah.
2 goals on 8 shots is not great. I admittedly haven't watched much of the game because I was driving up from work immediately back up after getting here. What do you think is being said in Dallas's locker room right now?
I'm not sure. I don't know at this point what's being said by the Stars because I also haven't watched much of the game either. I don't know if they're just shooting everything at the net, doing the spray and pray from the point, or if they're getting the high quality chances and are just being robbed by Stuart Skinner. So I can't say one way or the other on that. But I think that the Stars had a chance to put the Oilers away in Game 4. They had a chance to put them on the ropes. They get that winning Game 3 on the road to go up 2-1. They were up 2-0 against Edmonton in Game 4. And the Oilers just came roaring back. I think the Oilers are just the faster team in that series. Dallas is more of a structured team, whereas Edmonton's the more talented team overall.
I think they're taking notes from the 80s Oilers, Edmonton is, because they're built to outscore their problems.
Yeah.
Much like the Grant Fuhr, Wayne Gretzky Oilers. It doesn't matter if they allow 6 because they're going to score 8 or 7 on you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can pull up the shot chart here, because I'm also curious where the Stars are shooting from. Because if it's all outside and the Oilers just are not letting them get in, then that's one story. But if they're in the slot and they're just not converting, then that's something entirely different. Who do you think is gonna? Do you think heading into the third here? Do you believe in Dallas being able to turn this around, or do you think the Oilers are able to cinch it closed?
Well, the one thing that I've learned from watching hockey is it's not over till it's over. So I think there's going to be some kind of push from Dallas. Like, it's a 2-goal lead. They're still in this game going into the third period here. And for the Dallas Stars, I think you're leaning on your top guys, guys like Robertson, Rope Hintz, who I think needs to. I think you expect more out of Hintz from what he's provided in these playoffs. Now, he's been a bit banged up.
He's been a little bit banged up throughout, but
even that first series against Vegas, he played, I think, almost every game in that series, or maybe every game. I can't remember exactly which game Hintz got injured in the playoffs, but like, he was almost invisible in that series. I think he had 1 goal, and it was an empty netter. So I think if you're Dallas, you're leaning on your top players, the Robertsons, the Hintz. Joe Pavelski as well, I think, could be doing more of these playoffs. Now, he is 39 years old. But
he's famously the guy that time has forgotten about.
Yeah.
Always managing to get on the score sheet somehow, and it's been a really big step down from him this past postseason, because I know that painfully, because I have him in one of my playoff pools this postseason, and oh boy, I really should have picked like Wyatt Johnston, because he is.
Yeah,
I guess up till tonight has been on fire.
Johnston as well has been fantastic in these playoffs. And if you're the Dallas Stars, Johnston is eligible for an extension this summer?
Yeah.
What do you think that looks like? Because I have a number in my head, either like the years and the money.
What do I think a Wyatt Johnston extension looks like? Okay, so in all honesty, if I'm Jim Nill, I don't think I extend him until the end of this coming season.
Okay.
Because Wyatt Johnston is still fairly new. You're judging off a small sample size, and you really don't want to go, hey, here's $8 million, and if he falls off this coming season, suddenly you're on the hook for $8 million.
Yeah.
But if I had to guess, if he wants to go conservative, I don't think he shouldn't get more than 6.
Well, I don't think Johnston will get $8 million. I think he'll get 9.
You think he'll get 9?
I think he'll get 9. I think he's a 20. He's dominating in these playoffs.
He's really
as
really
a 21-year-old.
He's a center.
He dominated that first round against Vegas as a 20-year-old. He's already a 60-point player in his second season in the NHL, and he's only gotten better as over these last 2 seasons. Like, he's only gotten better as the seasons have gone on.
Yeah.
And if he explodes next year, because I could see it happening, if he explodes for a 90 or 100-point season, how many?
He's
how
getting
much
10.
Yeah.
He's getting 10 or 11 easy.
Yeah.
Aiden, if you want to switch to my screen there, I should be sharing this. Wyatt Johnston's hockey DB in 22-23, he played 82 games and notched 41 points. This past season, played 82 games with 65 points. In these playoffs as well, he has 16 points in 18 games. Let's be objective here. Do you sign him to extension now, or do you wait?
I think you sign him now.
Okay.
Because I think he's only going to make more money as next year goes on.
That's the gamble. Because if you wait and he has, as you said, an 80, 90-point season, suddenly that 8 or 9 mil turns into 11, 12 maybe even.
Yeah.
Especially with the cap going up over the next couple of years here as well.
Yeah.
Aiden, if you also want to stay on my screen here, I actually did find the shot chart to this point. The Stars are shooting fairly well from the inside. Only a few point shots, only a few from outside the slot. Maybe it's just one of those nights for Dallas.
Yeah.
That you're putting everything on and you just can't seem to find it. According to NHL, if I can find it here, there's about 4 minutes left in the second intermission. So the third period will be well underway by the time we sign off here. I think Edmonton closes this out.
I agree.
sometimes playoff hockey's like that. I just don't see it happening for Dallas this season either, which sucks because you want to see those long-term players get a cup. You're Joe Pavelski being chief among them. But yeah, I just don't see it happening for Dallas as much as it kind of hurts to say that I think Oilers are going to advance. And let's go ahead with this. Let's stick with Oilers and Panthers in the final. Mm-hmm. The Panthers have dismantled some of the best goalies in the NHL on their way to the finals this season. Yeah. They took Vasilevsky apart, who had an off-season, had a really bad season coming off of surgery this season. So I take that with a grain of salt. Dismantled Jamie Swayman. Yeah. One of the better goalies in the league. Definitely part of the best tandem in the league. And then Shesterkin. Yeah. Arguably Vezina. So if you're Florida and you're coming in against Edmonton, do you focus on trying to dismantle Skinner, or do you put more stock into trying to stop their scoring? How do you, if you're Florida and you have this deep attacking mind, where do you come from?
I think you've got to focus on trying to stop McDavid and Draisaitl from scoring. If you can, and I know that the Oilers have gotten the depth scoring in these playoffs. Ryan McLeod has been good in this series. Connor Brown's
been a
turned
name.
It up in this series out of nowhere. Matthias Janmark as well has had a couple of great moments in these playoffs for the Oilers. But if Dallas can stop if they can keep either McDavid or Draisaitl off the score sheet, I don't think Florida's going to have, or I said Dallas, Florida. If Florida can stop one of those guys, I think they're going to get the scoring on Skinner, like you said. They're another heavily offensive team, like you said. They've been able to find ways to score on Vasi, Swayman, and Shesterkin. Mm-hmm. 3 top 5 goalies in the NHL.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll have a problem scoring on Stuart Skinner, but I think they need to focus on shutting down McDavid and Draisaitl because, like you said, Alex, the Oilers can find a way to outscore their problems as they've done in these playoffs. They did it in the Vancouver series. They're doing it here against Dallas. There's only one more round to go.
You're only 4 wins away.
Yeah.
Let's stick in the Western Conference and let's switch over to some tracks that you know probably better than I. Jonathan Marchessault is up for a contract. Yeah. And according to an article by Cal Cushman from The Score, they haven't talked about it, Golden Knights management and Marchessault. The team has been famously fairly cutthroat. Yeah. Fairly, knee-jerk isn't the right word, but fairly cold-blooded. Yeah. Trading people immediately when they don't work, all in the name of obviously winning a cup. If I'm looking at Marchessault's stats, he's been a good player. This past season, 82 games, 69 points. Season before, 76 games and 57 points. And the season before that, 66 points in 76 games. So he's routinely hitting that kind of 50, 60 point mark. But there's a lot of work. I'm looking at the Golden Knights cap friendly. Alec Martinez, he's 36. Do you maybe keep him around for a year or so, do that veteran presence, and he's honestly an amazing defenseman. Yeah. You have Pavel Dorofeyev. He's an RFA, so he hasn't been a massive impact on Vegas, but he's probably gonna make 1.5 in the area of 2, maybe.
Yeah, 1 to 2, I'd have to say.
Michael Amadio. Why? Oh, our lights just came off again. Aiden, I got it. Yeah, Michael Amadio, who is also one of those depth guys as well. If you bring him back, it's probably going to be, I think, less than Dorofeyev because I just have seen more of Pavel Dorofeyev than I have seen out of Michael Amadio. Granted, Amadio is a bit bigger in the playoffs last season with a couple. I think he had 1 game winner against Winnipeg. Yeah. Thank you. Will Carrier is up. Anthony Mantha is up, and one of the biggest names one of the bigger names alongside Marchessault is up for the season is Chandler Stevenson. Yeah. Where do you go with this? Marchessault is 33. Stevenson is 30. Do you think Marchessault walks? Do you think that Vegas just doesn't re-sign him? How do you see this playing out?
I thought when the Knights were first eliminated, and I said this on the Armchair Athletes, I thought they'd find a way to sign Marchessault.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is coming out, this report, and I'm starting to lean towards no, because Jonathan Marchessault just had a career year, and he's 32 years old. I think he's got maybe one more payday left in him, and he could be chasing the bag here this offseason. Now, there's the other side of it, too, which is that Vegas does have an advantage with the state tax.
Yeah.
So Vegas can offer Marchessault a lower AAV than, say, the Calgary Flames would offer him.
Toronto. I think Boston has a bit of a bigger tax as well. San Jose.
Yeah. So Vegas has that advantage where they may be able to offer him 7 as opposed to 8 from another team. I want to see Marchessault back on the Golden Knights. In fact, I think he's the life of this team. And I'm hesitant to say that the cup window would shut if Marchessault would leave, but there would just be a completely different vibe.
That would take a hit because is he the last of the original Misfits, or is he? Stevenson was original, wasn't he?
No, Stevenson was traded from Washington.
Right.
And then Carlson's an original, Theodore, McNabb, Carrier as well, who's probably leaving this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was going to say about those other UFAs, I don't think Mantha's coming back. He just didn't fit in.
Yep, which is fine.
Yeah.
I didn't see much of him.
No.
So I mean that's not a big loss, but I think your bigger losses are coming out of Stevenson and Marchessault. Is this a case if you got to pick one, or
I think so.
Who would you rather they keep?
I'd rather keep Marchessault. I think he was just better on the team this year. I think he's been better overall. And the thing as well, it doesn't show on the stats, I guess. Like there isn't a big-time goal stat kind of game-winning goal, I guess. But Marchessault scores a lot of the big goals for the Vegas Golden Knights. He is a playoff performer with a capital P. And I think I think he'd be the biggest loss that they've probably had. Like I was sad when Riley Smith went away, but there was that understanding when Smith left that, well, there was either him or Barbashev, and I think Barbashev's the better choice at the time. If Marchessault walks, they probably sign Stevenson, but I don't think Stevenson's as good of a player as Marchessault, especially like the chemistry that Marchessault's had with Jack Eichel over the last years. Eichel's taken his game to another level with the Golden Knights. I think he's more of an all-around player than he was with the Sabres.
I expect him to be really good after surgery. I didn't expect this good after surgery, especially the neck surgery too.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I want to show you something here, Alex,
Sure.
because there was the report of where Marchessault said that he wanted to get it done before the season, which I think, looking back, mistake by the Golden Knights. Marchessault's only increased his money with this past season.
Yeah.
He's now not just a 30-goal scorer, he's a 40. But in March, Pat Brisson, who is Jonathan Marchessault's agent, said that there were some talks with the Golden Knights, but that they both agreed that, I'm going to find the exact quote here in this article.
I imagine the tone is it's better off to wait and then kind of deal with it in the offseason, I would imagine?
Yeah, it was basically like there were some talks, but that they just wanted to wait till the end of the season. So my question is, which one is lying? Is it Marchessault or is it Pat Brisson? I think it could be Marchessault, just basically maybe trying to get leverage here. To get a deal done.
Yeah.
But, I don't think that the Golden Knights have been working night in and night out to get this extension done.
No.
Or else I think they would have had it done.
This would have been done the moment they got eliminated, I think. If they were working constantly, I think this would have been done a while ago.
But I also don't think that there's been zero talks. So, I'm not sure who to believe on this one.
If he comes back, he just finished a 6-year contract with an AAV of $5 million. What do you think he's going to get? Former Conn Smythe winner. He just finished a season where he had the second most points in his career. only trailing 17-18, where he got 75 points in 77 games.
The most I think he could get from the Golden Knights is 4 years, $7 million a year. The most I think he would get from another team is 8 to 8.5.
If he hits the market, he's getting paid.
Yeah.
If he hits the market, he's getting 8.5. Obviously, he likes it in Vegas. One of the original misfits, as mentioned earlier. I think that consummate from last season definitely gives him a bit more leverage as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. With given how cutthroat Vegas has been, I wouldn't be surprised if they in favor of getting something better, if they cut both Marchessault and Stevenson potentially, because they're both entering the wrong side of 30 as well.
So then you've got about $6 million in cap space. What do you do?
I don't know. There's probably a way to moneyball this, where you kind of make up for the lack of scoring that you just lost, but those guys aren't easy to come by.
I also think if the Golden Knights sign Marchessault, they've got to trade someone else. I think it'll either be Alex Pietrangelo, which you're not going to get anything for.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Pietrangelo to a team for nothing, similarly like they did with Pacioretty and Fleury, just purely for cap space to use. The other option, maybe you could get something out of him, is Shea Theodore, because he's got one more year on that contract as well. And you want to talk getting paid, I think he's going to get the bag on his next contract from a team.
A UFA that I want to bring up here, because he's one of the bigger forward UFAs hitting the market this postseason, is Jake Gensel.
Yeah.
Is there a thing there? Is there a there?
With Vegas?
With Gensel. He's 29.
Yeah.
Just coming off a season where he got 77.67 games. Do you, especially with in Carolina, Don Waddell, their GM, just moved to Columbus. Do you think that if they let Stevenson go and if they let Marchessault go, they can put all their chips into the Gensel pot? Because he's coming off of a contract where he got paid $6 million.
I think he's going to get paid 10 or potentially even 11 mil after the playoffs he had with Carolina.
He had a big
He was
playoffs.
great. And he's a winner as well. Won the Stanley Cup with the Penguins in 2017 and was huge in that run as a rookie too, I think, that year. I don't think that the Golden Knights would be able to get Gensel unless they traded caps or got cap space by trading either, like I said, Theodore or Pietrangelo. Maybe they could do it, but I think if they were to clear cap space, that they would just sign Marchessault.
Yeah, I think that's the smarter way to go. I'm curious as to, I know it's only a year difference between Marchessault and Gensel. Gensel a year younger, so it's not going to make a huge difference. But they've, as I've said before, they've somehow made the money work across multiple different deals.
Yeah.
And if I'm GM Bill McCrimmon?
Kelly McCrimmon.
I think Gensel's at least worth taking a flyer on.
Yeah, I would love to have him on the Golden Knights, but there is only so much money to go around, I guess.
You can only make the money work so many times.
Yeah.
I do want to switch off of the NHL and switch to the PWHL. Since our last show, there's been an article on The Athletic written by Haley Salvian that kind of dissects, okay, so the first season's out of the way. Where do we go from here? And the first thing that she says is to quote the article, let's get this out of the way quickly. Team names and logos are coming. On the TSN broadcast of Game 5 on Wednesday night, Amy Shear, the league's Senior Vice President of Business Operations, said that names and logos will be announced in August. Bauer recently has been announced that is also taking over their uniforms. They're now the official uniform supplier for the PWHL starting this coming season. What else do you want to see come out of? Obviously, it's not going to happen this season. They're looking at expansion. Obviously, not going to happen this season. Looking at the article, they also want to play in more NHL neutral arenas just to kind of gauge popularity, I imagine. What else do you want? What have you been paying much attention to the PWHL this season at all?
I followed it. Like I didn't follow it closely, but like I was keeping up with it. So I seen the final. It was a very exciting final too. I was happy that Minnesota won it because even though I thought that goal being called off was the right call, I still think that that's such like a tough thing to take as a player on the team. Like even if you murder the goalie and you still score that goal, like that's still tough. So I was happy to see them still come out in the end as the winners.
I think if you're like in the board of the PWHL, your season I don't think could have gone better.
Yeah.
You have massive interest, not just in the markets you're already in, but you have massive interest coming out of Pittsburgh. You got the full amount of playoffs you possibly could. You had an overtime thriller in Game 4. You had a full series after Game 5. I'm eager. I really want to know team names and logos, and then with that, I also want to see what the jerseys look like.
Yeah.
Where do you see them? I know this is as said in the article. This isn't anytime soon. When do you see them breaking out, say for Minnesota, more Western? Because they played in Pittsburgh, massive interest, and they have 5 Eastern teams and then 1 Western team with Minnesota. How many years down the line do you think a team west of Minnesota is going to get one?
I think it'll be obviously not next year, like it said.
No.
Maybe the year after that. If not, then I think 3 years for sure. Like I think they start to venture off, not next year or the year after, but then the year after that.
Yeah.
There's a couple places I want to see, and I think that the PWHL, like I think Pittsburgh and Detroit did great for the games they were given. So those would be great markets as well. I would like to see them go to places where there isn't an NHL team and where they can be almost like
the main attraction.
The main attraction. I was thinking, we've seen what Halifax did with the World Juniors.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see what that would look like. And another one is Regina, Saskatchewan. There's a lot of support for the Rough Riders there, and as a result, the Regina Pats as well get a lot of support because there isn't a major league team there.
Yeah.
So I think the PWHL team would do great there. And of course, I'm biased, but I'd like to see one in Calgary.
Oh yeah. I'd also, if one was announced for Calgary, I'd be on the season ticket holder list yesterday.
Yeah.
Also, some more exciting news coming out of the league there as well is they're going to play at least 30 games next season, which this past season they played 24. And as per the article, they already said they expect more neutral site games at NHL venues in 24-25. So hopefully they can come out to Calgary. Maybe, possibly. I would go. That's something I wanted to touch on.
Is there anywhere where you would like to see them go in particular?
Halifax is a good shout. Halifax is a really good shout. Outside of the obvious ones, like Pittsburgh, Philly, kind of the Pennsylvania area there.
Yeah.
I agree with you that there should be one where the NHL isn't, because that's, I think, how you drive interest.
Yeah.
You capitalize on what isn't there. My first thought was going to be like that Regina area.
Yeah.
Because it's fairly close. It's not like West Coast, but it's still like it's not as far away as everything else. I would say, obviously with Canadian bias as well, Halifax and Regina are probably the 2 biggest outside of Pittsburgh, Detroit, and so on.
Yeah.
Shifting tracks again. So we talked about this on the show before with Utah's expansion, however you want to call it. Utah owner Ryan Smith made an impromptu appearance on the Pat McAfee show this past week. And he was asked about what names are kind of what are the names that are most popular.
Yeah.
To quote a Sean O'Leary article from The Score, Smith said, Mammoth is up there, Yeti's up there. I think a couple other ones are up there as well. It should be good, and it'll be out soon. Have you seen, first, before you get too deep in this, have you seen the 20-team list?
I did, yes.
Were there any ones that jumped out to you?
Just because I thought it would be absolutely hilarious and there would be a ton of memes, the Utah Powder.
I looked at that name and I thought there's no conceivable way they're considering that, because that would be horrible for hockey Reddit, for Utah Powder Reddit. Oh my! All the fans have a field day out of saying everything that is not safe for work.
Yeah, I like Utah Yetis. I think they could do cool marketing with that.
See, I was thinking Utah Blizzard because they could cool team marketing with that.
Yeah.
Because, Dairy Queen, you're moving from Arizona, so you have the whiteout. Just, I don't know, but Mammoths I'm fine with. Yeti, I prefer if they go with Yeti, I would keep it singular. I think Utah Yetis just sounds muddled.
Yeah.
In my ear saying we should get a Yeti sponsorship, which there is marketing there. I completely forgot about Yeti.
I'm not a fan of the Mammoth.
No,
for whatever reason I'm not.
I want it to be. I know it's kind of really weird to be kind of picky about this. I hope it's a singular name.
Yeah.
I don't want Yetis. I don't want Mammoths. I don't want like Blizzard. That's awesome. I don't know. There's just way too many S's. The Kraken diverted from that. Wild, Lightning, and Avalanche are the other three that make up that list.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you want something different, if you want something that's kind of a bit more refreshing, I would definitely kind of try to keep it singular. I think the Utah Yeti has been somewhat. It feels too obvious.
Yeah, but so did Kraken, kind of.
Yeah, that too.
Like there was a lot of support for Kraken leading up to that.
And I imagine you've seen various different Yeti, concept art from various different social media feeds. I'm gonna ask you a question that I've already stated my answer on. I'm curious what you think. Heading into this past PWHL season, I thought that they should have advertised the existence of the league to the moon, but they should have held off playing until they had logos, jerseys, the works.
Yeah.
It also came out this past week that the Utah hockey team is gonna the jerseys are just gonna say Utah on them, much like PWHL's jerseys. Do you think that maybe Ryan Smith should have had the name and everything picked out before? Are you okay with it saying Utah for the season? Where do you come down on this?
I mean, I'd like to see a name, obviously. I'm a jersey guy as well.
Yep.
And I like seeing the cool jerseys, and I'm not looking forward to just seeing a jersey with that blue circle that says Utah on it.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, so the reason why the PWHL did it, I assume you probably know this, is because it takes a while, I guess, to make them.
It takes a while, and they wanted to get the women's league going as soon as possible.
So, I guess if it takes them longer to get it right, then I guess it ends up working out in the end. Whereas, you have, I guess, bringing up the NFL here, the Washington
Football Club, yeah.
Yeah, so there was the Washington football team, and they ended up just getting a name, and they did not get it right. The Commanders, that's the worst. It is the worst name in the NFL, if we're being honest here.
I can't think of a worse one.
No. So if it takes Utah longer to, I guess, get it right, now don't take 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
But a season or two maybe, then I guess that's just what you live with in the end.
I don't know. I feel like because Ryan Smith and Utah have been potential partners for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of surprised that they haven't, that, you know, Bettman hasn't called Smith and said, hey, this Arizona, if this, like, called him 2 years ago saying, hey, this Arizona thing if this Arizona thing doesn't work, which 2 years ago it wasn't, and then they moved into mullet, and then it really wasn't. If this Arizona thing stops working, can you get to work on this? I'm kind of surprised that call didn't happen, because now you have this team that doesn't look like they're being taken seriously.
No.
At least for their first season, which, you know, if of the big four, the NHL is the league that's struggling the most. Struggling to bring in fans. You can even, there's I completely forget, but there's an NBA player who is eligible to make more than an entire NHL team's cap.
Yeah.
I'm completely forgetting the name of the player. Sorry, I'm not well versed in the NBA. But you're struggling so much, and I feel like this kind of thing would hurt a bit.
Yeah.
Why would you not at least reach out to Ryan Smith saying, hey, do you have something?
Yeah.
If this goes, if we have to move, please work on this. Just because I just think this looks bad. I wasn't on board for the PWHL's format this past season either. I don't know. I just think it looks bad. I hope they get it right, especially if they're taking this time. According to the article as well, they will have like logos and jerseys and name next year as well. But for this year, just, I don't know, it looks subpar to me.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment as well. My thing is that I'm not sure if Ryan Smith thought he was going to get the Coyotes like all that far ahead. Like, I think it just kind of came about.
Well, yeah. Like, I'm not saying he knew beforehand.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm not putting it on Ryan Smith. I'm more putting it on Gary Bettman to have not had the foresight of this is falling apart. If it falls apart more, and like, admittedly, it could have been Houston is in the market for a new team, but I'm kind of surprised that, because he said before that he's had meetings with various cities about getting an NHL team.
Yeah.
I wonder where that conversation stopped.
Yeah, I'm not quite. I think though, so I think Bettman even was expecting Utah, because there was a lot of talk of Utah maybe coming in as like an expansion team. So maybe like Bettman was thinking like a few years down the road.
He just called Ryan Smith saying, hey, this isn't going as well as I thought it would. I need you to have a team now, and we'll figure it out as we go, kind of thing.
Yeah, because man, that Coyotes thing was a disaster towards the end. It
wasn't great. It was neat that it was kind of neat that they played. It was kind of neat that they played in a college arena for a little bit. You know, just as like a neat little trivia question or whatever. But it was a bad look.
Because I remember, so we were covering it on Armchair Athletes, and I sent a video to our group chat of, remember when the Coyotes, right before they got relocated, they had plans for that new arena, for that land that they were going to bid on in the auction?
Yeah, where Morello told this social media handler, hey, we look at, like, release this concept arena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that happens, and even the social media manager, like, I felt so bad for that social media manager. They ended up losing their job in the end, and it ended up being Alex Barullo Jr. who was running it. But was there not tweets during that week of like, we're staying in Arizona, or we plan to stay in Arizona? So I truly think that like the whole thing with Ryan Smith came about within that week, and like there might have been a little bit of whispers before that, but I don't think I think it only came about within that week, because they have plans of this new arena 1 week, and then literally a week later, the Coyotes are playing their last game. So it all developed like that. Immediately. Yeah.
We have 6 minutes left. I know Phil Tremblay would kill me if I didn't mention this. I do have to mention the Memorial Cup.
Yeah.
So the last game concluded as we were recording the show here, it looks like Saginaw Spirit beat the London Knights 4-3.
Oh, okay.
Which I believe means that your Memorial Cup champions are the Saginaw Spirit, because I believe it is a one and done.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Can I say that I'm not a fan of just kind of the format of the Memorial Cup?
It's really weird.
Where it's like
the round robin and then the placement?
No, more so just that, like, you bid on it and you're in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I get that that's the traditional way. I just don't care for it, because for me, like, I don't care for having like a memorial, and don't get me wrong, the tournament's fantastic, but I don't care for having like a champion that is that didn't win their championship.
Yeah.
Or at least make it like I know U Sports has, where there's like the finalist gets in, and then like one finalist. So U Sports is made up of like 4 different leagues, and then the finalists from those 4 leagues all get in, except for one, which has like the host league. So this year, for say the women's U Sports, the women's U of S team got in over U of A because the women's U of S team was hosting it. So at least like have a format like that. I don't care for, even then, I just don't care for having a host team.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that either. I think the best teams deserve to get in, period.
Yeah.
Moose Jaw won their conference and thus the league. In the WHL, I know Phil would lose his mind because now that Saginaw has won the Memorial Cup, that the fact that Saginaw isn't in Canada would also make him lose his mind here as well. He's been very, very vocal about not having American-based teams in the CHL, the Canadian Hockey League. He would yell from the top of his lungs.
Makes sense.
But honestly, beating London, who historically has been a unit, just worth mentioning.
Yeah.
I think. We only have 3 minutes left. Did you want to touch on anything else that I maybe have forgotten, or do you want to go back to something else? Ooh, actually, the Stanley Cup Finals schedule has been announced as well.
Yeah.
A bit late. Because typically, historically, obviously pre-pandemic, my birthday is on June 24th.
Okay.
And when I was younger, the concept of hockey being played on my birthday has been out of the question because it's typically done a few days before. And oddly enough for this, and typically NHL Awards Day would be on June 24th. This season, however, it's a little bit different. Game 7, assuming there is one between the winner of the Oilers and Stars and the Florida Panthers, Game 7 could be on my birthday, which would be pretty neat. Game 1 is set to be on June 8th. And then Saturday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, Monday.
Yeah.
So it's about 3 weeks-ish. A bit less than 3 weeks. Which by the time we come back to you on Wednesday, the final should be set. Because I believe assuming that Dallas can turn it around here, which I quickly checking here, 2-1 Oilers with 5 minutes left in the third. They might.
Yeah.
Games.
Who has the goal for Dallas? Let me check that out.
No worries. Game 7 would fall on June 4th. So when we come back to you on June 5th, the final will be set. We'll probably do a finals preview and everything like that there. And then one last thing. I know we have 1 minute left. A bit of a baseball NHL crossover here. Per an article by Dan O'Leary on NHL.com. Former Calgary Flames assistant general manager, the late Chris Snow, was among those honored before the Seattle Mariners game on Sunday. Snow's widow, Kelsey, and 2 children, Cohen and Willow, were invited to help former NHL player Steve Gleason, who is currently battling ALS, throw out the ceremonial first pitch before the game against the Los Angeles Angels. Just wanted to mention that I did see that. Really nice that, as I know a bunch of other people don't really care that much about like Calgary, but here in Calgary, Chris Snow and his whole family has been kind of intertwined with the Flames organization. So that's really nice to see him being honored like that. But I think that'll do it for.
Just wanted to say Mason Marchment has the goal for the Dallas Stars.
Attaboy, Marchment.
4 minutes left.
It's going to be a tight one. By the time that this gets uploaded, the game will be long done. So either congrats to the Oilers for closing it out against Dallas, or congrats to Dallas for turning the game around after a disastrous first couple periods. We will see you guys on Wednesday. Make sure to check out Armchair Athletes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I've been your host, Alex Burko, with Armchair Athletes, Clayton Yates. We will see you guys on Wednesday. Have a lovely time watching the rest of the Western Conference Finals, guys.